I don't want to get too far in the weeds because we're just starting out.
Okay, right.
I know we'll get more into this, but I don't want to forget this question. I mean, how the hell did you even, like, who comes up with, like, I mean, to me, this is like,
You asked like 4 questions.
to me, this is like psychedelics. Like,
Yeah.
who picked up the toad and rubbed it and ate the venom?
Yeah,
or
that's what I
smoked
wanna
the
know.
venom. Who came up with that?
Right.
And so I want to know, like, how did you find hydrogen and its benefits?
My undergraduate degrees are in biology, and my postgraduate degrees are in human biology. So I've always been like crazy fascinated with the human body. And the more I study the human body, the more it's actually strengthened my faith. The more I believe that this was created by a divine being and it wasn't by accident. Like, you'll never convince me that 2 bacteria banged a billion years ago in a mud puddle and a lizard grew out and eventually we became Homo sapiens, and here we are, right? And it doesn't even make sense evolutionarily because there's huge gaps in the fossil record, but we can talk about that later. But I've been fascinated by the human body, and I just believe so much more in what God gave us than what man makes us. Mm-hmm. And we become a society that's just become so dependent on chemicals, on synthetics, on pharmaceuticals. But when you really start to look at the research, which I'm fascinated by, like my heroes are the scientists and the PhDs and the MDs and the researchers that are doing real work, studying real human beings to try to extend life and improve humanity. And what you find in most of this research is that we're just getting back to the basics, right? Sunlight, grounding, breath work, whole foods. So hydrogen's been, I mean, you're probably 60% hydrogen by weight. I mean, think of the percentage of water you are. And it's harmless to human beings. But this gas has anti-inflammatory properties. It feeds a whole class of bacteria in our gut. It's improves circulation. It improves the absorption of our supplements, our nutrients. So, simple things like switching to drinking hydrogen water, like using a hydrogen water bottle or hydrogen tablets, bathing in hydrogen water, water that's been circulated through a machine that just adds hydrogen gas to the water. Game changers. Psoriasis, eczema, and don't take my word for it. Google around, go to hydrogenstudies.com, read the research for yourself. So, and this is one of those things I studied, after I really kind of got into the biohacking space because I was in the mortality space for decades, predicting death. And as I've really started to go down the rabbit hole of what is truly extending life, like, how do we not just add years to our life? How do we add life to our years? Like, how do we not grow old and have to deal with all the consequences of aging? Well, the way you grow old and don't deal with the consequences of aging is you give the body the raw material it needs to do its job, right? And if you look at the broad research on this, like look at blue zones, for example, right, where you have these centenarians, people that live way beyond age 100. If you look at all of these blue zone areas of the world, you won't find continuity between diets. Right? So the dogmatic dieting is not the answer. So it's not vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, carnivore, keto, paleo, raw food. It's not these hyper dogmatic diets. It's whole food diets, right? You go to Sardinia and you see that it's one of the highest carbohydrate consumptions in the world. Well, how are they eating so many carbohydrates and living to 117 years old? Well, they make their bread from scratch. They make their pasta from scratch. These are all whole foods. You go to the Mediterranean and that flies in the face of modern medical recommendations. High amounts of fat, fatty fish, lots of oils, cheese. So, and then you go to, the French are screwing the whole thing up because they're smoking cigarettes and drinking wine and eating cheese. And some of those areas they're living forever. You go to Singapore, it's one of the highest meat consumptions in the world, one of the longest life expectancies in the world. So what's the commonality? The commonality is a